Drew, 47-9. That was,
Yeah.
I don't know what was more disgusting, that score or hearing Aiden Hutchinson's knee snap on live TV.
There was a lot of things disgusting about the game. Um, just bad all around. I never thought we were going to win. In the pick'ems, I picked the Lions, and the bet I had placed over the weekend, I picked the Lions.
You placed a
Like
bet,
this, I did.
and you didn't do a video on said bet?
Yeah, yeah.
Fraud.
It was a last minute decision. Because I was feeling good about my pick'ems. I was like, dude, there's no way that the Broncos don't win, and the Colts, because the Colts were also underdogs. Anyways, the I knew the Lions were going to win, but I at least thought it would be competitive to a certain extent. It was anything but. Um, just from the get go. I mean, not a single player played well. Not a single one. Like except for Brandon Aubrey, but he doesn't count. He's the GOAT. So one single player played well. Actually, I take that back. Cavante Turpin was pretty good too. He had a good return.
CD had 7 catches.
But we'll talk about CD here in a second.
Okay.
2 players played well. The problem with CD, his stats were decent. He's not playing to his best ability. He quits early. He doesn't.
Diva.
Him and Dak are miscommunicating somehow. I don't know whose fault it is, but it needs to not happen. On that interception of Brian Branch where he kind of baits Dak in the corner of the end zone, like CD could have also gone up for it. He was in position that if he attacked the ball, he could have at least tried to catch it or knock it away. But he just kept on running and ran out of the end zone and ran off the field. So that's an easy pick. Obviously not. That was a terrible throw by Dak. Good play by Branch. Bad effort by CD. Multiple things true on the same play. Again, CD runs like a little go route, and Dak is throwing an out route to the sticks, and it looks terrible because Dak is throwing to no man's land because CD's just running down the field. That's not supposed to happen with your star player. Another one, Dak throws it kind of like a jump ball, except for it wasn't like a 50-50. CD had the advantage, which, by the way, he told Dak to throw jump balls on the sideline last game. And he doesn't catch it. He doesn't even get his hands on it. And it was easily catchable. I mean, it went between his hands, I think. He just didn't get his hands up in time. Like, he had opportunities. He has chances. He's the second highest paid wide receiver in the league for good reason. I'm not saying he's bad by any means. He's still good. Early in the game, he had a good one-handed catch and good run after the catch. Like, he's still a fantastic wide receiver. But for some reason, on certain plays, especially if he doesn't think he's getting the ball or whatever, or if he has a bad play, it gets in his head, and he doesn't compete, and he doesn't give his best effort all the time, every play. And so that should have been a touchdown for him in a game where obviously we needed touchdowns. We didn't score any. Just a lot of bad things. Again, Dak did not play well at all. Dumb mistakes. That first one to Branch, I think he threw like 2 to Branch at least. I think maybe 3 total. I think 2 went to Branch, something like that. Interceptions.
2 total.
So just not a good game. The second one, though, I will say, is Jerry's fault. That stupid sun coming in through the windows. We'll talk about Jerry here in a second. Just so dumb. But threw it right to Branch. He's been forcing a lot of things, which he's been known to do when things aren't going well.
He
tries to force it.
My quote for life.
Make the play.
My quote for life is forcing anything in life. It's like farting. If you have to force it, it's shit. So don't force anything.
That's a good one. But yeah, he's been forcing a lot, and it's not been working. So he needs to chill out, take what's given to you, and live to fight another day.
Like, he looked good last year. Why
But
does he look lost this year?
the offensive line is worse. The wide receivers are worse, kind of.
It's a lot of the same
I mean,
guys.
you're really
isn't
just
it?
missing Brandon Cooks. But there was a weird kind of shift last year after the bye week where the offense started to click and things were working. We had a better run game then as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but it was better than what we have now, which
Right.
is abysmal. So there was a lot of pieces to the offense that were meshing better. And Dak and CD were on the same page for the whole season until the Packers game for some reason. And so they just kind of like carried that over. Really, the whole team has still, they're like, it's like they never left the Packers game. Every home game we play, starting from that game, is just an absolute blowout. Like, I don't know. But there's a lot of pieces on the team that aren't playing with. The offensive line, terrible. Zach Martin with a 0 pass block grade. That is a sad day.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed too, I noticed this early in the season against the Browns, I think it was.
That'd be game 1.
No, not this about Zach Martin yet, but Dak got sacked, and it was the offensive line's fault. Like, obviously, not every sack is offensive line's fault,
Right.
but some of them are. Like, they just can't slow anyone down. And at the beginning of the season, it happened with Guyton, and Guyton had barely touched his guy, and he gets a sack, and he goes to help Dak up, and Dak did not accept the help. He just got up on his own. Well, he did that to Zach Martin as well. Zach Martin got beat in instantly beat, which is bad for Zach Martin, obviously. And Zach Martin comes back there and is trying to help him up, and Dak just gets up on his own and doesn't take it. I don't love that. Dak is very competitive. I don't know what other people think about Dak necessarily in his competitive level. I think he comes off a little bit softer, and because he's a nice guy and the post game interviews and everything like that. But on the field, he's very competitive. And when you're competitive like that, you don't. It makes you angry when things aren't going your way. But when Zach Martin's doing bad, there's a lot of things going wrong.
Yep.
Our center is a rookie who's never played center before, so there's growing pains there. Tyler Smith is now playing left tackle because our left tackle got hurt and is also a raw rookie who wasn't playing very well either. Our left guard is a backup who, again, is a backup for a reason. Our right tackle has never really recovered from his ACL injury and gets just freaking beat up by any decent pass rusher with a pulse. What else? Tolbert's decent. The problem with Tolbert is he doesn't get separation, which is a problem with most of the Cowboys wide receivers. And that's why Dak is having to force these things because there's not really anyone to throw it to. I mean, Tom Brady said it during the game. He hasn't seen a single wide open receiver the whole game. I forget at what point he had said that, but if Tom Brady saying it,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and believe it because he wouldn't be. He's not. It's not like he's loyal to the Cowboys or Dak or anything like that. Like he doesn't care. If Dak was making mistakes and missing wide open guys, he would say it. But it's been a problem. Zero separation in the play calling doesn't do it. There's things you can do to get your guys open, whether it's those little pick plays, things like that, certain route combinations. We had receivers freaking running into each other in the field because they're somehow ending up in the same spot on their routes. Like there's so much going wrong. I think it was I don't think it was Ferg. It might have been Schoonmaker and Tolbert. Maybe they literally collided, and it was almost a pick because the tight end, who I think it might have been Schoonmaker, maybe it was Ferg. I'm guessing he runs the wrong route, or at least gets his timing off, and he pulls the linebacker up to where Tolbert is coming across on, I don't remember what kind of route it was, either an in or some kind of like slant or whatever. and it's almost a pick because the linebacker is not supposed to be there. He's supposed to be with the tight end, but the tight end decides he wants to come up and be in the same spot. They run into each other. The ball hits, I think it was Anzalone or something in the hands or in the chest. Luckily, he drops it, but there's just so many things going wrong. On the defense side of the ball, we basically got practice squad team out there. I mean, we got like preseason game 3 roster out there. I mean, it is bad. We don't have our top 4 edge rushers. Our defensive tackles technically are the starters, but our defensive tackles are already bad to begin with. They've been bad for years. And that's been one of the main problems plaguing the Cowboys. The linebackers, our starting linebacker and the one that calls the plays, Kendricks, he's injured. His backup was even a little bit injured, so he didn't play as much as he probably would have. So we had essentially 2 rookies at linebacker, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Hawaiian or something. It's like Leafu or Leafau, something like that. We drafted him, I think, in the 5th round this year, maybe the 6th round. And then Overshone, who, again, this is basically his rookie year because he got hurt in the preseason last year, was playing linebacker. Damone Clark had to play linebacker, who's been kind of like a rotational piece for us. Trayvon Diggs was terrible. Most of his terribleness came from having to defend Jameson Williams, which I don't expect him to win a foot race against him. But his effort on tackling and things like that is just so bad. And I don't know if it's because he's coming off the ACL and he's not confident yet or what it may be, but just not great effort. And that's bad when our other corner is literally a practice squad guy. We called him up from the practice squad. He's originally he was corner number 5, but Booth from the Vikings ended up being even worse. So now he's technically corner 4. Just not in the safeties again. They're aging. An aging Malik Hooker, who was good last year but hasn't been very good this year. Donovan Wilson, who his main thing was flying in and making big hits, and he hasn't been able to tackle, and he's constantly running himself out of position. Just the entire team has been bad. And the worst part of it is the guy whose birthday it was sitting in the box knew there were issues and did nothing to correct it. And this is not just a this year problem. This is a consistent issue. That's the reason we haven't been able to go anywhere. And a lot of people want to say, well, it's Dak. They shouldn't have gave him $60 million. It's CD. They shouldn't have gave him 34.5 or whatever it was. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. The players are not playing good. I'll give you that. The Cowboys haven't won anything in 30 years. Dak has not been a $60 million quarterback for 30 years. He's been here 8 years, I think. There's one guy that's been a common denominator for 30 years. It's not Dak. It's not Tony Romo. It's not Jason Garrett. It's not Mike McCarthy. It's Jerry Jones. And so he can sit up in his box and he can tell you that he's the only one that can do that GM job. The buck stops with me. He's the one that's making all these decisions and doing all these things. And what do you have to show for it? You're the oldest GM in the league by far. He's just turned 82 on Sunday. They were talking about this on the radio. The next oldest GM is Balky in Jacksonville, who's 60. He is, like I said before, gone 30 years with no success. There's not a single person, whether it be coach or GM, that would still have a job after 5-7 years of no success. You can't do the job. If you can't do it after 30 years, you're never going to figure it out. It's And then he comes on the radio this morning. And this is where it starts to get real sad, because the hope is like maybe he'll see one day. Maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe he will listen. You come on the radio and the radio guys are asking you on, I think it's 105.3 or 105.7 in Dallas. It's like the main Dallas sports talk radio. I think it might even broadcast out of like the Star in Frisco, Texas, which is where like the Cowboys headquarters is. Anyways, they're asking him like, dude, why didn't you do anything? Like this was obvious. Like why didn't you make moves? And Jerry's blowing a gasket, and he's saying all this stuff about, you know, he should replace them for asking these types of questions, and they don't have any right to ask them these questions. They don't know what they're talking about, and then literally threatens to replace these guys. And they kind of laugh it off because, you know, they talk to Jerry every week. Like he's gotten angry before and whatever. So they laugh at it, and he's like, no, I'm serious. Like he doubled down. He's dead serious. He will replace these guys because they're asking questions that he doesn't want to answer. Like it's so bad. And it's miserable. There's another part of that came up after the NFL owners meeting today. And he said he was really mad because these were radio guys. They're not fans. They're not real football guys. So today he says after the meeting, the wrong ones were doing the questioning. Now, if those had been real fans sitting there, or if there had been people that knew what they were talking about, football people, I might have had a different answer. That's just so disrespectful, and shows you what kind of man he is and what kind of opinion he thinks of himself. That these poor radio hosts, sports radio, mind you, I think they know a little bit of what they're talking about. I don't agree with everything that the people from this specific stations say, but that doesn't mean that they don't watch the games and know how modern football works and all this kind of stuff. To say that they don't know what they're talking about because they're radio hosts, they're not real football guys.
How they get into that in the first place?
Yeah. So a little bit of personal offense there, Jerry. I might not have the privilege of being paid to watch every game and make, you know, important decisions about a real football team and things like that, but I think I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. And it's easy to see because Jerry thinks we're still in like 1990 or something. They come out weekly and say that we can't afford Derrick Henry. We can't afford this and that. He said multiple times in that same interview about Dak getting $60 million because he wants that to be a scapegoat about why they couldn't do anything. We've got over $20 million in cap space right now just sitting unused. We've got money. There's graphs that show you active cash spending by NFL teams in the league. The Cowboys are always at the bottom. We're currently at the bottom in active cash spending. But yet him and Stephen Jones and the rest of his mouthpieces come out each week and say, our hands are tied. We couldn't do anything because we're giving Dak $60 million and we're giving CD 34 and we've got Micah coming up and this and that and whatever. And a lot of the Cowboys fans who are the reason that Jerry doesn't change because they give him money every week and they buy into everything he's saying and all this and that, whatever. They believe him. But the rest of us who care about the sport, about the team, and do research and want to see the team succeed, you're just lying straight to our faces. Because we can see, like, you're not high. This isn't private information. We can see the state of the football team. Like, you can't fool us. And so when people are asking you tough questions, it's because they care and they want to see something done about it. And just because you don't get a question that you want to answer and can answer easily, you're going to threaten to fire these guys. By the way, they don't even work for you. They're not Dallas Cowboys employees. although he probably has enough power that he could get him fired if he really wanted to. But they literally don't even work for the Cowboys. And to come on and just disrespect them like that, Jerry's done a lot of bad things. He's said a lot of bad things, but man, that was tough. And he doubled down on it during the call when he said he's not joking to their face. And then he doubles down after the NFL owners meeting. If you didn't already think he's a clown, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. He's the biggest joke in the league. And as long as he can keep the freaking AT&T Stadium posted a picture to celebrate the number of fans in the stadium. It was like 93,000. They blurred out the score on the freaking Jumbotron in the middle of the field. That is embarrassing. And Jerry doesn't care because that number of attendance was in the 90,000s. And people are in the pro shop buying jerseys, and people are tuning in the game. I bet it's one of the most watched games of the week. He will never care. He will never care about what the product is on the field as long as people are buying, people are watching.
I mean, they are one of the most, if not the most profitable franchise in the NFL.
They're the most valuable sports team in the world.
Is it sports?
Out of anyone.
I wasn't sure if there was a soccer team that was more valuable.
No, they're the most valuable sports team in the world.
Which is why he doesn't care.
And that's what Jerry cares about. I'll give him props. He's good at that. He's good at business. He has no reason, he has no qualifications to be running and building a football team in a like a day-to-day roster building situation. He shouldn't be taking post-game interviews.
No one else does that.
The owner is not doing post-game interviews.
No other owner does that.
It's so ridiculous.
You don't hear...
And we're seeing... Yeah.
Everybody knows who Jerry Jones is. Most people... I really don't know who owns the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Vikings, I mean, who owns a lot of these teams? Frankly, I don't care. Jerry Jones
is a household name, just about. I mean,
there's
not a single NFL fan that doesn't know Jerry Jones.
If you start naming teams, all right, so like Chiefs, first person that comes to your head, Patrick Mahomes. 49ers, could be an array of players, could be like Joe Montana, could be like a Hall of Famer. Like one of the first people that comes to your head when you think of the Dallas Cowboys could be Dak, but a lot of times it's probably Jerry Jones. And he's never really had the quality.
He wouldn't have it any other way.
No,
that's exactly what he wants.
Egotistical asshole. And he's always...
And the thing is I think I said this before. He wants to be credited. If the Cowboys were to figure it out and win the Super Bowl, he wants people to know that he built the team. He is responsible for it.
But when they don't,
now he's responsible for putting a shit product on the field, and people are asking him, "Hey, aren't you responsible for this? Why didn't you do anything?" And now all of a sudden, it's not his problem; it's other people's faults. And why are you asking me this? Just a joke.
And if your complaint is the money, the Chiefs, when they paid Patrick Mahomes, that was the most expensive contract for a quarterback at the time. The salary cap was a little bit smaller. You paid Travis Kelce. You paid Chris Jones. I'm pretty sure Tyreek was getting paid too. It wasn't. I mean, he wanted more. That's why he wanted to get moved. Yeah. But like the good teams know how to do that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go in a little bit more. The Chiefs, for example, they're paying Patrick Mahomes now. Albeit now that contract isn't as bad, but at the time it was a huge contract. It was something that had never been done before. But again, even not just strictly the dollars, but they're constantly making moves to get better.
Yep.
They trade up for a wide receiver in this draft. They go and get Hollywood Brown. They've done multiple things to get better. The Bills, they just got Amari Cooper today.
Yep. They're 4-2.
Who else?
They're 4-2, first place in the
49ers. The 49ers, they had lost the Super Bowl. They go out and get CMC. They're paying a ton of good players, a ton of money to be on that team. The Lions, they're bringing in free agents. They're attacking the draft. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff. They gave Goff a good contract. They gave Sewell a good contract. Amon-Ra's getting good money. All these They just extended David Montgomery. They literally just gave their defensive tackle who whooped Zach Martin all game a 4-year extension, probably just from that game.
They rebuilt
Like,
their defensive
secondary. The contenders, yeah, exactly. That was their weakness, and they attacked it.
Yep.
They added multiple pieces to try and correct it. It's one thing if you make moves and they don't work out. Like, if the Lions don't win at all, you can't say that they didn't try. They tried.
That's the one thing I'm going to say about
the
Jets.
That's all you can give them.
When the Jets made the move for Aaron Rodgers, it was with the hope that it was going to lead to a Super Bowl. If they don't make it to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to walk away pissed off that they made the move because you were proactive. You made a move with the intent on trying to win. Like, that's the move you make. You see what you
even right now,
right?
For the Jets, it's not like going to plan, but you're still trying. You just traded for Devontae. Like, you're trying.
The Cowboys
don't try. Zero attempt to get better.
Nope.
You drafted some players who were risky draft picks in the first place. You needed them to start right away. You lied to your fans saying you can't bring in Derrick Henry when you easily could have. All this different stuff. You do nothing. To get better.
Nothing.
So you get zero respect and you get all the blame for this team collapsing when everyone and their grandma knew the problems with this team from last season. Everyone knew what was wrong with the Cowboys. Everyone knew things needed to change, pieces needed to be added, and they still did nothing. And now it's our fault for pointing them out and talking about it. Like an example I was thinking of earlier is the Diamondbacks. And I don't know if you follow baseball at all, if you're listening to this, but the Diamondbacks, they went to the World Series last year. In case you didn't notice, they lost, but they still went. Not a people aren't expecting them to make the World Series, but they made it. And they're technically a small market team. There's not a lot of money being pumped, and baseball's a little different because there's not a salary cap, so it's up to like the owner and the team to fork up the cash. And they saw their team go to the World Series, and they said, "Hey, let's make some moves and see if we can do that again." They go out and get. We really need more pitchers. They go out and get a pitcher. They get in another pitcher who had both had good seasons last year. So they bring in more than we need. They go get a third baseman that we really needed. They go get all these guys. And yet they win more games in the regular season than they won last year, and they miss the playoffs. But there's not a single fan that blames the owner or the management for missing the playoffs.
Zero proactive.
Because they tried. They did everything that you were supposed to do to get better, and it just didn't work out. And that's the way sports goes. But that's not the case with the Cowboys. They're not actively trying to get better, and they haven't been for a long time.
You can't say you're all in and then not make a single outside free agent acquisition until Anthony Barr a month later after free agency started.
Eric Hendricks.
I knew it was one of those former Vikings linebackers. That was the move. Yeah. Oh, we're all in.
All in, baby. Got one linebacker past his prime.
Yeah, the Cowboys, ESPN puts them on a lot just because they generate ratings. But people are just starting to get fed up with them because they have been, in a sense, pushed down everybody's throats. Because, you have Jerry Jones who's constantly talking them up, and they're good talking points. But nothing changes. It is an insanity expecting things to change because they just haven't.
Yeah. Our best chance is we just get lucky. Just straight up, just get lucky. Like, we're never going to be the best team as far as the roster goes. A lot of times we've got a really good one side of the ball or, a couple good pieces here and there, but we're never going to be the most complete team because we never compete in free agency. We rarely make trades. And it's never going to be what it needs to be.
It's kind of like the Steelers, except the Steelers owner isn't vocal and they have won something in our lifetime. It's kind of like that. But You'd rather be
And Jerry's Super Bowls were from Jimmy Johnson.
Yep.
He fired Jimmy Johnson because he's a freaking egotistical maniac.
And that's one thing I was thinking of earlier.
The second Super Bowl after that they won, but it was the same roster that had won before. And no one, there was not a scrap of success after that.
And you were saying how Jerry's been the GM for 30 years and isn't qualified. He wasn't qualified then. When he gave himself the role, when he fired Tom Landry, which that worked out. At the time, he wasn't qualified then.
That was okay. It was time. But Jimmy Johnson, he was mad Jimmy Johnson was getting credit for the Super Bowl and the team that was put together. He wanted people to see, this is Jerry Jones's team. Jerry Jones did this. Jerry Jones did that. And technically, he got one without Jimmy Johnson. But no one says Jerry Jones did that. No. That was the same roster that Jimmy Johnson put together. There's a reason that it took this long. Jimmy Johnson just got put into the Ring of Honor last year. There's a reason he didn't put him in for so long. The fans had been begging and asking for multiple years to put him in because there's no reason he shouldn't have been. That's why Jason Garrett was employed for 10 years. Because he was a perfect yes man freaking puppet for Jerry Jones to say if they were to win it, it would be easily seen as Jerry Jones's Super Bowl, not Jason Garrett. And so it's unfortunately, man, it's just never going to change as long as he's around. And unfortunately, it's not going to change when Stephen Jones is around. I mean, those two are together every day. Yep. But Stephen Jones gets on, he luckily he's not on the air disrespecting people, but he's talking the same talking points about we don't have money for this and that, whatever. It's never going to change, unfortunately.
One final thought before we move on. You got a lot out there.
I hate you, Jerry Jones.
You got a lot.
I hate you.
I think I'm going to clip that entire segment and make it its own video.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I'm sure to tag Jerry Jones. I want him to hear.
I do want to add.
Let's get on a conversation.
I do want to add. That the Lions.
He was, dude. I'm gonna say a couple more things. Hold on.
Holy shit.
That radio thing really made me mad, dude.
It makes me mad too.
So he comes on. He's acting like these guys are idiots.
It makes me mad because that was my I studied that. That was my broadcasting is my background, and disrespecting the entire profession like that just irks me.
Yeah, there's some dumb idiots who they don't get to know about football because they don't work for the team.
You get into that because you're a fan.
He continuously asks, what's the point? Who are you to ask me this? What do you know about any of this? Jerry, let's get on a call, dude. Let's get on the call. We can talk. And I'll ask you the same questions. And he baited people into and he asked if I forget exactly how it went, but basically he was trying to get people to call him an idiot. He was like, "What do you think? I'm an idiot?" Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're saying, Jerry. You're dumb. You do not know how to run a football team, and there's 30 years of evidence. I don't know what else you need, dude. Give it up. You're 82 years old. Spend some time with the family.
Go on your yacht.
Enjoy some success for once in your life. Football success, I suppose, but today really bugged me.